Hello everyone. In this session, we want to talk about managing user accounts using Windows PowerShell. In our previous session, we looked at managing objects in Active Directory using the command line tools, DS, Directory Service Command Line Tools, CSVDE, and LDIF. Now we are switching to Windows PowerShell, and with Windows PowerShell, we are able to create, modify, and delete objects within Active Directory. And we want to look here at some of the commandlets that we will use. If we want to create user accounts in Active Directory, the commandlet that you're going to use is new-add user. To modify the properties of user accounts, we will use set-add user. To delete user accounts, you use remove-add user. To reset the password of a user account, we use set-add account password. To modify the expiration date of a user account, the commandlet is set AD account expiration. To unlock a user account when it is locked after exceeding the accepted number of incorrect login types or attempts, you use unlock Active Directory account. To enable a user account, we use enable Active Directory account, and to disable a user account, we can use disable Active Directory account, which is what I want. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say paste. So I have my command, note, and some people would want to type this straight from the command prompt, but I like to type it in Notepad so that if there's an error, I could go back in Notepad and I could correct that error and bring that text back over to the command prompt again, but that's your choice. I'm about to press enter to execute, so we're going to go ahead and press enter. All right, so we're back at the prompt. There's nothing there. We need now to go into Active Directory to see if that user was created. So we're going to go to Tools, Active Directory Users and Computers, and we can see here in Department C that we now have Harry Gibbons. Sometimes you might need to refresh that OU, like you could right click on the OU and say refresh if you don't see the name. Next, we want to look at creating bulk users with PowerShell. We're looking now at bulk creation and the names and all their attributes that I want to enter. I either enter it in an Excel file and then save as a CSV, or if I don't have Excel, I have to enter it into Notepad in this format. Now, most administrators would use a spreadsheet file because you would have already have the names of the users in your department. You could probably get them from your personnel department, and then you would arrange them in an Excel file in the way that you would want them. So you might have 300 names. All you need to do is to get those names, put them into Excel, and remember the first row of the Excel file will have the headings that you use. For example, here I have name. That would be the first cell in row 1. And then given name would be that second column in row 1. And then surname will be the third column in row 1, and you would go straight across. Then under that row now, you will type the names that match the headings. For example, Merlene Belgrave would be under the name column. Merlene would be under the given name column. Belgrave would be under the surname column. And then M. Belgrave would be under the SAM account name column. And then the path, or U equal department C, DC equal Contoso, DC equal com, will be under path. And then password here would be under account password heading. And then $true would be under the enable column heading. So if you had 50 or 500 users, you would have to populate your Excel spreadsheet. And if you don't have Excel, you could simply put it in Notepad, and then you have to save it as a CSV file. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to save this as a CSV file. I'm going to make sure I save it at the root, which is the C drive. I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to make sure I'm in C here. And remember, click the down arrow by Save As Type, change to all files, and I'm going to call this file PowerShell Automate. So that file will be called PowerShell Automate .csv. Double check and make sure that you're saving it at the C prompt, and then I'm going to click on Save. We now want to write the PowerShell script that will allow us to import that PowerShell file, PowerShell Automate.csv, that we saved to the C drive. So as usual, I like to put my script in Notepad first, make sure it is correct before I take it over to the Windows PowerShell prompt. We're going to go into Active Directory module for Windows PowerShell again, and we're going to go to the root prompt, cd ... cd ... and we're going to get the information from the Notepad file. And remember that I like to use my Notepad file, so I'm going to check to make sure if everything is all right. Import CSV. We need a space here. And let's go through. PowerShell Automate was the name of the CSV file that we saved. We have each heading here, user principal name equal the $, and the $sign means that you are saving the object in a variable. So the variable name would be _.sam account name plus contoso.com. Remember, the user principal name is the name at your domain name. Then we go to new add user. And again, here we have the SAM account name, and we're going to save it in that variable. We have the user principal name here, and we're going to save it in the variable user principal name. Don't forget, the $sign indicates that we are putting the object in a variable. A variable is simply a storage location for the user objects. Here we have name again in a variable. We have surname in a variable. We have path, and it lists the path, which is the department. We have the path being OU equal department, DC equal console, toasto, DC equal com. Then you have account password. It's a parameter, so you must have a hyphen before it. See, it's always good to make your corrections in Notepad. And we want to convert to string. The password here we're putting is 01. Enable true, password never expires. True, and then we have the pass-through parameter. So let's see if that will run. We're going to actually copy this. And we want to right click and copy. And then we're going to make sure that we are at the root prompt. Remember, we use cd dot to get to the C. I'm going to right click and paste. And you can always check a second time to make sure that you're right. If you have an error, you will actually see that PowerShell will show you or tell you what the error is, and you can go and correct it. So we're going to press enter here, and we have an error, and let's see what the error is. The term import CSV is not recognized as the name of a commandlet. So we're going to press the up arrow again and see what we have for import CSV. Make sure that it's right. And I can see the arrow right there. The space is supposed to be after the V, not after the full stop. So you go space, and then you're going to take out that space there. And let's run it again by pressing enter. And we have one name created, which is Pat, but we wanted two names unless we have that other name already within Active Directory. So if you had 50 names, the 50 names would be created. And let's just go back and see what it's saying here. Object not found, user principal name string. And we know that it worked for the first one, so it tells me that I would need to go back into the notepad file for when we populated the usernames to look at the other name that we had put in. Right now, I want to go to Active Directory Users on Computers and look in that department, COU. Oh, the name already existed in there, Merlin, and that is why that name did not come in. So if the name already exists, it will not be overwritten. You would have to remove that name from Active Directory. So we have the two names, Merlin and Pat, and those are the two names that were created. So we were successful. Now, some people don't like script and they prefer to do their names using the graphical user interface. They prefer to do their accounts. But remember this, if you have a lot of objects to create, then it would be a good thing to use the script. Once you do your script, once you create your script once, then all you have to do after that is to modify it to suit whatever else you're doing. Because once you do the script and it works and it's correct, when you want to do something else, you have that script saved, and all you have to do is to make modifications to that script. So our goal was to create the two users, Merlin and Pat, and do it as a bulk. So we're imagining then that we were having 500 or 200 users. And let's go back into the C drive to actually look for that CSV that we did. You're going to right click on the CSV and open it. You can see here, this was our file. At the top, we simply had the headings, name, given name, surname, some account name, path, account password, enable. You can put in as many headings as you would want to. And then for each heading, we had the associated object with it. For example, for Merlin, we had Bernie Belgrave, we had name. Pat Lawrence, we had name. Given name was Merlin for the first record. Given name was Pat for the second record, and so on. So once you create that, remember that I'm telling you, if you do this in an Excel or spreadsheet, it will be a lot clearer for you to see and understand. So most people will use a spreadsheet. And all you do is you save that spreadsheet as a CSV file. And then now you have to then remember now that you have to create that PowerShell script that will allow you to run the command to create the users. We had gone ahead and we put that PowerShell script within Notepad so that we could have made corrections, to it. And even so, we found one or two things that weren't right. Remember, we had to move the space here, and I think we had to put a hyphen somewhere else. So once you do it in Notepad, it gives you a chance to correct it and make it good so that if you go in then and you paste your information, and let's go back to the PowerShell prompt here. You go in and you paste your information in the prompt, and there's an error. You can see right away what the error is. And remember, the red writing actually tells you where you have made the error so that you could go back and make the correction. So don't be afraid if you see red come up. It simply means that you did not type something correctly. Not that you don't know what you're doing, simply that you missed out a word, a space, or something. So the red is good because it helps you make your correction. So that is the end of Windows PowerShell for Active Directory. And in your required reading, you're going to see that there's a lot more that you can do with PowerShell for Active Directory. There are lots of other commands. And don't worry, in exam, you're not going to be asked to create users using PowerShell. You simply probably have to remember the beginning name of the commandlets to do some of the basic things. So that's it for this PowerShell lesson. I want to thank you for listening.